Hi, welcome to SEO Conspiracies, where you learn how to not do some SEO and also how to do some proper SEO with Dixon Jones.
And Lauren Burley.
Hello,
And this is
Dixon.
the extended edition.
Yeah, today is the extended edition because usually we tell you what's wrong with SEO myth, urban legends, and all. And today is a longer format where we're going to talk advanced SEO for 2020 and above, because what we're going to explain are not little tips and tricks or black hat SEO little shortcuts.
I don't have any black hat SEO, guys. Don't worry about that. No. I just make mistakes at work.
Well, for those who want some borderline, not fully like really hardcore black hat, but something kind of in the middle. We'll talk about it later, but I got a little surprise for you. So hang on if you want to go a little bit, put a little pinky finger in the dark side.
This, guys, is where Laurent just sends me off in a little world that I never knew I was going to go down, and I'll just find myself in a cul-de-sac at the end of an hour's, webinar, and find myself in deep shit. So let's hope that doesn't happen.
No, it's not. I mean, the thing is, we have a podcast about that, about the should you follow the Google guidelines, right? And there are Google guidelines and there's the law, right? Something that's illegal to do, and it's very easy to confuse both. It's very easy to do some stuff that are illegal, especially when you started link building, right? If you take advantage of a vulnerability,
start injecting code into other people's websites without them knowing. That's well across the line.
Yeah, and you don't destroy anything. You're like, I just put my page with a whole bunch of links like on the server. Yeah, but that's totally illegal, and that's years of prisons and hundreds and thousands of euro or pounds in fine. So I'm not going to go there. But the Google guidelines, if you know the risks, right, and if you are prepared to swallow a penalty. But it's not a Google penalty, is how do you get out of it? And but sometimes you need to be a little more aggressive. So I'm not going to talk about buying links. That's the easy part. Everybody does it. But I got a little surprise.
On the white hat side of things, I think advanced SEOs, a lot of advanced SEOs, don't read the bloody guidelines. And actually, I remember a few years ago going through the guidelines for a presentation, and a lot of times there is a lot more information in those guidelines than SEOs pay. A lot of SEOs just cut corners. They enjoy cutting corners and want to try and get there quick. But the guidelines have got more and more detailed, especially in the developers areas of Google. And what's more, I've even been out on webinars where, Googlers have been writing the guidelines in real time and allowing SEOs to come in and add their input and stuff. And I find that's quite interesting. I mean, they clearly have their own agenda, and clearly they have the mothership of Google at heart, and they don't want to sit there and say, here's 10 things that will fuck up our algorithm. But at the same time, they are prepared to try and take you beneath the bonnet and show you, code and schema and, ideas that will go a little bit beyond what a basic SEO seems to be told, because the basic SEO can't be asked to read the guidelines in the first place. So, I don't think they should be ignored.
It's and there's also a whole SEO academy or guide by Google, and I would definitely advise to start from the basics before watching this video, because we're not going to talk about all the basics, how to find keywords. I mean, a little bit, but more topics than keywords by themselves. Yeah, and it's like everything else, and even the black hat part. What I tell people is at least understand evil to know where is the the yellow line, right? If you go like 280 miles on the highway, well, of course it's dangerous. But if you're like a race car champion or whatever it is, and the problem is like, don't get caught. Do whatever. If you want to go over the speed limit, it's your. Even if we agree or not, it's not a place to judge. But at least if you are smart, well, maybe you should know where the cops standing. And that's pretty much the way I view it. At least today is. Where do I define that yellow line, and where do I allow myself to cross it, knowing the risk? Maybe I was lucky because the first networks of sites I did was hit with Florida in November 2003. Okay. So right away, I had to integrate the Google penalty, even Google blacklist. I had like a lot of domain blacklisted. Like you type the domain and it's not even there. So maybe it allowed me to start right away with this question mark, or okay, am I gonna get, and also to have websites living with 100% of traffic from Google. I've also done that and paid the price. So today my thinking is beyond those basic SEO techniques I used and overused 15 to 10 years ago.
So on that basis, then let's start with the topic of PBNs and backlink networks. Are you using them now? Do you use them a lot now?
That's for the end of the webinar. Let's start with on-site. Let's start with on-site.
I thought we were going to start advanced.
No, we're going to start advanced, but with on-site, because otherwise you're killing my surprise. And
that's fine. Okay. Well, so if we're going to start with on-site, I think the most important thing that advanced SEOs need to be understanding now, actually, we can get onto topics and various other bits and pieces soon enough, but I think that schema is just incredibly important right now, and not even topic schema and stuff, but you can get traffic out of Google with a really good bit of how-to schema, because a bit of how-to schema will say, right, okay, how do you boil a kettle? It'll come up with you have 10 steps in how to boil a kettle. That is then the schema then translates that information back to Google's brain, and then it puts this featured snippet up, and only the first 6 steps are on Google, and they've got to come to your website for the last steps. And I think those kinds of schemas, snippets that force the user to come back to your website, are probably the area where SEOs are. They're still looking at the natural organic results, but we need to start working on how to get traffic out of the Borg, because what the Borg is trying to do is trying to get all the information into its central repository, into its knowledge base, so that it doesn't need to send anybody back. So the SEO part in 2020 may be feeding the Borg, but in 2021 it's going to be, shit, the Borg's now got all the information, doesn't actually need to put any websites on the page, it just answers questions and stuff, and only sends you back to a website when it's got too niche, too narrow, too specific, something that Google can't deliver. So the challenge, I think, for SEOs, the O of challenge, is how to get traffic or people or customers from a database of information back to your website, because that's the new optimization, and not all schema will do it, but without understanding schema, you're never going to get there, I don't think.
There are several points here, very important. Number one is, do you remember my demonstration about the difference between sales and marketing branding with the marketer and the salesman who go out in the club?
Yeah.
Because you got to decide which content is dedicated to branding or marketing and which content is dedicated to sales. So the how-to is marketing, that's branding.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, 80% of your content is going to be about marketing, branding. And maybe, well, there's the Pareto principle, you know, the 20-80.
Yep.
So 20% of your catalog is going to make 80% of your
money.
income. But maybe 20%, even in my opinion, 5% of your content, of your pages are really that important for that business, for your business. Like the top level keyword, the top level pages. I think it's not more than 5%. Maybe it's more, but the investment on those pages is unlimited. Always, they need to be perfect, nothing less than perfect. But then
that leads that leads to the fact that there's no reason for a user to actually come to your website during that process. If you've got some marketing material that is absolutely going to sell your brand, then Google can take that information, put it in the knowledge graph, and display it to the user. The job has been done. The job has been done. If the brand has come across, the job has been done, even though there's no click onto your website. There you go. So that whole funnel doesn't require somebody onto your website until the yellow bit at the bottom.
Everybody's fighting here. Everybody is here. If we're talking real estate, right? Real estate. This is cheap, and we are not back in 2004 when we could think about one keyword, one page, and then a CTR on that page, right? I convert 5% of the. That was simple. That was easy. But now let's imagine a customer journey, right? I type. I'm in the information phase, so I type a keyword to understand something. I find your blog post. I read the information. Great. You don't convert me. I don't buy. I don't subscribe to newsletter. Nothing. I click on the cross and out. Thank you. Bye bye. It's bad because you didn't engage, but maybe you weren't good enough to engage at a certain level. You just wanted people to buy or enter the email in the email list. If you were a little smarter, if you, for example, ask them to put it down an email to download more information or even a summary of the page, try to engage on that level, not that level, not even that level. And then that visitor, well, now you can't really retarget them on Facebook or Instagram. But let's say, okay, let's pretend.
Oh, sure you can. So I
thought they stopped it. Like, okay.
Well, okay, you can't. But sorry, yeah, you can't upload and stuff in the same way. But you once you've got their email address, of course you can do everything. But I think the interesting thing is you don't have that blog post that they read or that video or that whatever. They don't have to now have come to your website at all in that process. The material you're producing doesn't have to be on your blog or on your website. So I've got a PowerPoint presentation that's up on SlideShare and it's up on 2 or 3 other blogs and not mine. And then, but the presentation, then in the middle of the presentation, it's videoed as well as PowerPointed. Says if you would like the spreadsheet that goes with this data, email, and then it's got my email address on there with the word in the title. And every week, I mean, at the time when I was putting it out publicly, I was getting loads of these things. But still, every week I get somebody coming in saying, saw the presentation, loved the presentation. I don't know where they saw it. It might have been SlideShare, might have been Majestic's blog, might have been out on search engine something or other, whatever it may be. But they've seen it and they've sent me the email. They haven't been to my website at all for me to get that thing. I still absolutely call this search engine optimization. I call that the information layer and the consideration layer. And I think that this is where we have gone wrong with SEOs or people that have got the tendency to go wrong with SEO is that they're sitting there seeing that it's all about the on-page stuff, but actually that those digital assets are starting to have an effect in Google before anybody comes to the website. So the people, when they do come to the website, are much more likely to convert because Google has already done the pre-sale. I say Google has done the pre-sale. The pre-sale has been done by the various other mediums that are out there.
I think a business is about search, right? I'm not going to tell clients how to manage a community on Facebook. I don't care. But if people search on Facebook, or if the guy that I saw on SlideShare, and then on YouTube, and then in my mailing list and so on, is I mean, I want to follow that guy all throughout this information funnel. And you're right to say that it's all around. It's not like back in the days when it was just one keyword, one page, one CTR. Now it's exploded, and you got to be there all around. Do you know that that website, conversationprism.com?
No, sounds like Quora, but no.
No, Conversation Prism. It's it's like a wheel of all the Web 2.0. And then you got at the center, you got the brand, and then the marketing processes, and then it shows how you got this entire ecosystem around us, around the brand, with all the social media, all the sharing websites, all the stuff. Web 2.0 is when the user is interacting with the content, right? And I think that's the game today, to be able to be all over the web, or the internet, actually, because the web is part of the internet, and mailing is part of the internet, but not the web. But that's a technical, nerdy thing. So yeah, we are in the game of search, right? That's our business.
But it still is. You say all over the internet, but it's all over the search results. That's what you want to be. Yeah. All over the search results. You know,
in YouTube, in Facebook, in SlideShare, everywhere.
Absolutely. But when somebody types in, you know, what Google patents affect algorithms, if Bill Slawski doesn't come up in about 200 of those results in different things all over the web, then he hasn't done his job. Well, I'll tell you it will, you know, because he's but it's not going to be just his website. That's my point, is that the optimization is now about getting your message on those search results. But those search results now are not those 10 blue lines. They are other different brands and different websites, and you need to have your message in those ones. And I'm saying that's the fundamental difference. On page, yeah, maybe, but it's really about making sure that whatever results Google returns for that user on that day, you're there. But it doesn't have to be your website that's there anymore. In fact, it's unlikely to be just your website. It will be a YouTube video. It will be a SlideShare. It will be a news article, or it will be, you know, yes, your website as well, you know. But if you want to dominate, you need to dominate everywhere. And optimization is not just about your website.
How do I explain my clients and students how to do that? Basically, to do that whole content marketing thing with a SEO layer.
Well, I don't. Surely you do that by saying, right, okay, we're going to create this content that is all going to feed the big, the big beast. You know, you've got that yellow bit at the bottom, which is actually, you know, what they're going to reward us for in the end. But we need to understand that the way in which that user gets to that little yellow bit at the end has fundamentally changed, and it's as you say, it's no longer than coming necessarily through and reading the blog posts and coming back and getting stuff from the website 10 times. It's about coming through several different other places, but all of them count towards SEO. And then when they do come, they're just going to buy, you know, out of the blue, apparently.
I can't show you the details, but I got a video that's explaining what I'm about to tell you with a screen share, so it's going to be easy. So you can check the description or the link to check it out. But basically, how does it work? First, we do a mapping of the content with a mind map tool. So the content looks like a little bit like this, right? Each node is actually a topic, and that's the topical mesh, meaning the mind map has to become reality on the website. That's one thing. Then second, I asked to put down a editorial calendar 1 year ahead. Let's pretend you want to do one operation per week. So that's 52 pieces of content. Okay, you do Excel sheet with like month and weeks. So that's weeks and then 12 months, 4 weeks, 12 months. Then each slot have different types of content. First, I have the dates, like April Fools, like Christmas. Do you want to communicate on Women's Day? So those are dates of the calendar. Then you got the calendar about the topic. If you are in the photo business, well, there must be some photo events and so on. Then you got the useful content, the content that comes from the SEO strategy. And then you got the buzz, the content that's more for Reddit or Facebook and stuff like that. So you plug in all those content, and when you're ahead, so you see everything is working together, everything is flowly, and it's not like I wake up in the morning, I scratch my beard, oh, what am I going to talk today on my blog? That's the first phase, planning. Second phase is each week you create 30 to 300 pieces of content. If you are very ambitious, there is no limit. You can't flood the internet with useful content. And you got only 4 type of format of content: audio, video, text. That's also the problem with SEO. They only do text. I do SEO with images, with text, with video, and with audio podcast, like here. And just within this one topic, 4 format of content, and it's not copy and paste. You for example, pictures. Okay, if it's just 2 guys talking, why don't you do quotes, right? Do quotes of the very smart things we say. If it's a photo shoot, then do pictures of the photo shoot. So you have several different pieces of content. And then number 3 is distribution. So you gotta, when do you put in the pipelines? Then you gotta promote. There is a little bit of promotion to do. It's not just about posting. And then analytics, and every week you repeat the cycle. So you flood the internet with your voice on one topic throughout the week. So it's also good for your SEO because you do everything. You send a very powerful message of I'm the authority. I know what I'm talking about. You know. What do you think of my way of?
I think absolutely. I mean, I call those digital assets. I don't know why I do that, because maybe I've talked to agencies a little bit, but I call these digital assets, and I think they're really, really important. And I think that there's another element to it, which is timing. When I'm releasing digital content, particularly, I suppose because I'm from a software as a service background, with and so the big stories, the ones I really want to work, and the ones that really engage, are when the product has an update. So when the product has new features coming out, those are the stories that are way bigger than the other material I may have around there, because they're the ones that are going to drive new customers or reinvigorate existing ones. So what I do with those is I get the timing very, very right. So yes, I'll get the blog posts ready, and I'll get the video content ready, and I'll get the, a new training module, whatever it's going to be, in line. But instead of announcing the stuff on my own blog, what I do is I email, Barry Schwartz and Roger from Search Engine Journal, and someone from Search Engine Land, and a dozen or so people that are more liaisons on the that are more relevant in my industry as independent reporters within our industry. And I email them and say, next week, don't tell anybody yet if you don't mind, but next week we're coming out with a thing that turns every website blue, whatever it may be, and here's a few screenshots if you want to write about it. If you would like a demo, here's some times where I could do a one-to-one with you if you want to see it.
I received those emails from you.
yes, you're on my list. Yeah, absolutely. And occasionally you do it, Yeah. So and I've also quite often sent through a PDF of the actual blog post that's going to go live, and the URL it's going to go live on, so that the idea here is that the influencers who are independent of me, although we've kind of broken down the independent thing here now, can can be the ones to break the news. There's no point in if you're Nike and you want to break the news about your new fancy shoes. It's much better if the BBC or Sports Today or whatever breaks the news for you than if you break it yourself on your own website. So much better to give the reporters what they want, which is good news or new news or something that other people don't know. And the influencers, it's important to do it that way because the influencers don't want to report some secondhand news. The worst thing in the world is for you to find out about the new feature through the newsletter that everybody else is signed up to, because it's not that that's bad, but there's less point in you telling your audience about it because half your audience already know, and half of those may think, oh, Laurent's behind the curve. I already knew that. You want to be ahead of the curve, or Barry Schwartz's and the reporters want to be first with the news where they can. So it's important, I think, for a brand to get the timing right and to take a back seat for 24 hours or so to allow that first wave, because the influencers will have much more impact. Independent influencers will have much more impact on your brand and your message than yourself. So yeah, have that blog post ready, have all those assets out there. If none of the reporters jump on the first wave, fine. You haven't lost anything except 24 hours. But at least you've given that opportunity. And if it does work, then everything you do after that has a layer of authenticity because the independent guys have already given it not a seal of approval, but a notification and a nod. And I think it's really powerful for SEO, and it's important for branding, but it does affect the SEO because it affects the linking, especially if those people are writing blog posts and doing demos. So, if Leon does a big review of the new features and things, well, that's perfect. That's great because that's a wide audience and most likely a link.
It's exactly the way to do it. I mean, for people watching, I come from the marketing, branding, PR world back in the early 90s in New York City. SEO was much later, in like 2003, 2004. And there's a book you can read. This is advanced SEO, so we're not going to go into advanced content marketing. But if you read a book by Joseph Campbell called The Hero with a Thousand Faces, it's about how you change someone normal, you make it into a hero. So I'm not going to go into details. That's a book that's used by Hollywood for scripts like Apocalypse Now, Lord of the Rings, the TV show Lost, and so on. So it's a very powerful storytelling. The first film was Star Wars, the first one, Episode 4, which is exactly the book, right?
Okay.
The way Luke Skywalker goes through this whole, that's the book. Basically, Joseph Campbell studied all the myth and legends and find a 12-step program to transform it. And that's what you did. It's human nature. Even if you are as famous as Barry Schwartz, you feel special if Dixon Jones is sending you something like exclusive.
I did more than that. I flew all the way. I was coming back from a conference in Texas, and he said, "Oh, let's do a video one day." I said, "Absolutely, a 1-to-1 with Barry Schwartz, that works for me." I flew. I landed at JFK. I then took a 2-hour Uber to his offices in the other side of New York State. Did an interview with him face to face. Took a 2-hour Uber back to get on a plane back to England. I was going through. It was well worth 4 hours in an Uber to do that for me. Anyway, I thought that was a good thing to do. And he thought, bloody hell, that's really, I put myself out.
This is very important. People need to understand, because I can hear them say, yeah, I sent 500 emails to influencers and none of them replied. Listen to what he just did. Dixon Jones, it's decades of planes, trains, and automobiles
It is.
to network. Decades.
It's still face to face.
Decades.
You can't get that link unless that person already has a connection with you. It's you've got to get off your ass and meet them. I know it's hard to do in current times, but
if you nobody is gonna deny anything to somebody who's just nice and friendly. People usually say, "Oh, you got to bring huge value." That's the only question mark. You got to be creative. You got to be good, right? What you bring up, but the value is there. Now, how do you reach out? Well, first, maybe you got to do even if you can't physically go, well, start engaging on social media. If you just don't go blind, oh, hey, Barry, look at my stuff. And first you get interested in his stuff, right? You comment his blog, you reply to his Twitter, and so on. Take the time.
I read his daily report every single day. His email drops on my desk every day. And it's the only junk mail that I religiously read. I just go down. He's made it so simple. Here's the 5 things on Search Engine Land. Here's 2 things on Webmaster World. Here's 4 or 5 other things, And there's always a Google update, of course. I kind of ignore that now, But yeah, I take that in as that's my first source of information for what's going on in the world. But I know that Barry kind of does that. He just takes it all in and puts it on a piece of paper, really, because he's trying to get the information out to people. So you need to check it. He's not giving it with his total seal of approval, but he is giving that information to us fast. And he's the only one in the industry that's doing it at that kind of rate. I suppose SparkToro is another tool that will, help the good stuff surface to the top. But I think that gets manipulated as well.
The number one mistake is like, oh, it's about me. No, it's about you. And maybe it's gonna be about me, but first it's about you. Yeah. And don't confuse because with marketing automation, it's very easy to send 500 emails saying, oh, I looked at your website and it's very interesting, but now talk about me.
Yeah. Well, I think there's another thing in that I've spent a lot of time I spend a lot of time going out and buying people beer. Really is what I do, and getting on with them, trying to be at conferences, trying to have, one of the best black books in the industry. But when I put things out, it's usually trying to transfer what little brand value I have to the brand I'm working with. So whether it's Receptional or Majestic or Inlinks or Don't Panic, because I do some stuff with the search awards and stuff as well. It's trying to help build up those brands, admittedly initially on a social level, not on an SEO level, but it's that relationship that's built up with that brand that allows for the proper links to come later on in the game.
Maybe people are like, hey, I wanted to hear some SEO tactic. Well, backlink. Yeah, that's about the real life.
Not hard enough. It's not complicated. It's not.
No, but that's the in real life backlink, which is the best backlink of them all. But that real powerful backlink needs to be cultivated. Needs to be take time. Like any. So you can. But furthermore, what I want to say is you got to do everything around SEO in order for SEO to work. But it depends what is your target. If it's a local restaurant, no, you can do basic SEO. But if you want to rank, I don't believe in the long tail, right? Long tail, I've never seen a long tail e-commerce website. I've seen long tail on press websites, for example. But my clients come to me to target like the big keywords and rank number 1. Go up to number 1 and stay number 1. Mm-hmm. So yeah, there you need to do everything around SEO. And you got 2 options. One, you got a huge budget to bazooka marketing, right? You buy ads, you buy everything, and then you got this signal of like, wow, this huge there's something happening, but it's a signal that you bought out. Or, well, you do this technique this strategy that we're talking about, and you build up content. And doing this multimedia thing, it's not only useful for everything around SEO, for the social media and so on. Look at the Google result page. It's multimedia. There's even audio. If you type podcast, SEO podcast, you're gonna find audio results. You got apps. You got social. You got everything. So look at the search. I call it the smell of the SERP. You got to be an advanced SEO is able. It's like real estate. Maybe I'm gonna rank quicker on the video or the image, and maybe I want them all, right?
Yeah. So you kind of if you think of Google as not one index but many indexes, then it started becoming obvious when universal search became a thing. But we need to dominate on all of those different mediums. So Google Pictures, Google Video, sort of the video index, the image index, the news index, depending on your industry. And
the answers, like you said before.
Answers, yeah, absolutely. And that is where we start to come towards knowledge graph, and where we start to come towards the concept of topics, and that's the advanced bit of SEO that I think on page has moved towards now. Maybe we should talk about topics then, because I think this is the fundamental.
Let's go into topic. But I want to repeat, that's very important. If you don't understand that at least 80% of your content is not there to convert, we can't do anything for you, because what we are about to explain is about the whole thing and not just the bottom.
Absolutely right. Yeah, absolutely right.
So yeah, the big breakthrough, at least for you guys in English, because us French, we've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah, okay. Well, maybe you were ahead of us,
I mean, for once, we were ahead of the curve. We were ahead back in the early days with my team, like the Dark SEO team, where we were search engine hackers, and we did some big demonstration. But since then, we're invisible on the SEO planet. But
it's changing now. I think the French technologies and French ideas are really starting to push through.
It's like French rugby. We're back.
Yeah. The Americans don't understand rugby. It's like NFL without helmets.
Yeah, it's like this football. Like I learned what football, American football. You know why it's not football? It's so stupid. It's because the ball is a foot long. Who is gonna name a game after the size of the ball?
Okay, let's get back to the topic at hand. Topics. So
it's not soccer; it's football.
Okay. But I think that the big change for SEOs is that when you're writing content, when you're creating content, Google has moved from this idea of trying to index. I mean, it still, of course, indexes every single page, but it's moving much, much more towards this concept of a big encyclopedia. You think about Wikipedia on steroids, but in machine-readable form. So it's actually sort of Wikidata on steroids, really. So if you go to wikidata.org, everyone should start figuring out what the hell that is and understand wikidata.org and try and influence it. It's not as easy as you might think. And if you can get a Wikipedia article, then you're in a really, really good place. But the main point about the move towards topics is that as you write content, it's not so much about the keywords that you write now. It's about whether Google understands that this section of what you've written, and I'm saying potentially a couple of sentences, maybe a paragraph, whether that is identified as a named entity that Google can understand, that Google can see is something in its database, in its knowledge graph that says, right, here they're talking about this topic. Here they're talking about this topic. And here they're talking about this topic. And these three topics are now related because they're in the same page and in the same content. So you have made these three topics semantically close. Now, is it three topics that you need?
Can you take an example with a word with like Jaguar or Lincoln? Or
yeah. So, well, we can talk about football. Let's go. So here's a thing. A foot is a unit of length and it's a piece of your anatomy. So when you start talking about a foot on a sports website, then that's going to be an interesting conundrum for a search engine, because Google will associate a foot primarily with an anatomy, not with the unit of length, and not necessarily with football with a sport. So even though you play football with a feet, that association is maybe not obvious, and unless you make it explicit, then Google could make an error. So you can do that with schema. So you can say, right, this schema, when we're talking about this foot, we're talking about foot as in a unit of length, or foot as in a piece, an anatomy. And then you can also add context, and you can say it's a foot as an anatomy in the context of sport. So you're using it for a sport. So schema allows these topics to get connected up, and importantly, Google has its own concept of what topics are close. So if you want to try and get to number one for football, then be careful about how you talk about feet and how you talk about balls, for that matter, or another anatomy. But try and be explicit about it. But start making sure that you don't talk about other variations of concepts except the ones that are important to the concept of football. So if you're going to talk about football, yes, you might talk about goals, you might talk about referees, you might talk about stadia, you might talk about corner posts, whatever it may be, player names, but you shouldn't be talking about probably units of length, and you shouldn't be talking about feet outside the concept of kicking a ball, and if you do, you're going to start confusing the search engines. You've got to talk about the concepts that are semantically close to the ones that Google think are semantically close to football.
I mean, I can't add anything smarter than what you said. It's pretty much all. It's very easy to confuse a search engine because of what you said. And if you usually you can do like some play on words and stuff. No, don't be fancy.
It's very dangerous to do. And that's why oftentimes I'm a very bad SEO, because I use very flowery long words. I like using it, and I hate that we've come to this, that we have to talk in simple, easy to understand, mouthful sentences. I hate it. I don't like this, but this is the advanced search engine optimization of today. You need to sit there and say, right, in football, if I look at all the other results that are ranking for football and break them down into all the topics that are being talked about, I can then create my own knowledge graph of things that need to be discussed to dominate on the concept of football. And I may have already discussed others of them on different parts of those web pages. Fine, I need to make sure that those link in the right context to the page about football to be able to start to dominate on that major phrase.
Right now we're on the page level. Then we're going to go around the page, and then we're going to go around the website. But still on the page level, I'm sure people will say, oh, okay, yeah, but how do I find those words? So links to your video and mine about our tools who are dedicated to help you optimize your content. We're not going to go into demonstration of what we offer, but those are the best in the business to help you find the good words that you need to put on the page and more. But let me explain again my mystery word game, because since we've been batch recording, I don't know in which podcast I was explaining that game, because the tool needs to be a facilitator. It needs to make your job easier. But if you don't understand what you're looking for, just pressing a button, I don't believe it's advanced SEO. Okay, we're not there to educate people to just press a button and wait for a result. So very simple. Do the test. Take the Wikipedia page about foot, right? The anatomy, and remove the word foot, which is the topic. If you can still understand that it's talking about foot, and without having this single, you remove maybe 4 or 5 instances of one word. And it's crazy with content that's just not well optimized. You don't understand anything that's going on. You have no clue. Well, Wikipedia is good at that, and in 2 or 3 sentences at the beginning, it plays very well the game of the mystery word. Before all the tools existed, that's how I trained my people to understand what I meant about the context, everything around, because the name entity, foot, the anatomy part, it's easy for Google to say, okay, that the foot, the linked to anatomy as a number, right, as a specific ID number. But if you don't have anything around between the foot, the unit of measure, and the body part, it's impossible to decide.
Yeah. There's a really good book. I think it's called Entity Search by, hang on, let me just have a quick look here. You might have to. Book, hang on. Entity Search.
In other words, instead of looking at
Christian Ballog. Sorry about that. You might have to just cut a bit out there. So yeah, if it looked like there was a cut there, I just kind of was looking something up. There's a book by Ballog, Christian Ballog, called Entity Orientated Search, and in it he's got an incredibly good chapter on the anatomy of a Wikipedia page, and it breaks down just how structured a Wikipedia page is, an article is on Wikipedia. And it's very, very specific. It starts by disambiguation. So firstly, you've come here with foot. Did you mean this foot, or did you mean unit of length, or did you mean anatomy, or did you mean whatever? And so disambiguates things straight away. It then starts with a little summary, as you say, 1 or 2 sentences that work it all out. Then it has an image block that is going to be appearing in a knowledge-based article if it ends up in Google, and then it goes through a very, very defined set of things, and all the external links are usually at the bottom. But it's so structured that it is so easy for Google to take that and say, right, we're going to call this our trusted seed set, and off we go. And this is one of the reasons why Wikipedia does so well on the search engines. It's so easy for Google to put that into machine language. Unfortunately, the other reason is that it is Google's trusted seed set. So it's basing all of its machine learning, or a lot of its machine learning, off of the data that's behind Wikipedia. And that leads to some definite black hat, in my opinion, in that the knowledge graph and knowledge base is, if somebody can manipulate Wikipedia, how difficult is that? Then the machine learning that comes off of that, as Google then tries and connects other ideas to these entities as defined by Wikipedia, which then get translated into variables within the knowledge graph. Then if a mistake was made at the start, then that can propagate out, and that can create the next level of black hat SEO.
Well, even beyond that, I think from a philosophical standpoint, this unique train of thought, right? La pensée unique. I don't know how you say it in English, but basically it's one way of thinking, and it excludes a lot of the variable. And Google is very keen on, once you search into something, it's gonna put you deeper and deeper into that hole. And I've tested with veganism, I've tested with the Gilets jaunes, the French riots, and once you get interested in what, you just like, whoa, deeper and deeper, that bubble, right? It's
yeah, and it's a real problem, I think. It's the problem with a knowledge graph approach. So Google has moved to this knowledge graph approach where everything's sort of sitting in this big database. But the problem with that is what it's actually done is dumbed down the internet. It's dumbed down human knowledge and turned it into a machine knowledge, which is a subset of human knowledge. And sometimes it's a bit of a weird subset. But anyway, and I think that therein lies the the critical problem with Google strategy right now, because it doesn't allow for diversity, and it also doesn't. So it's tending towards less diversity, not more. So they have to then create things like Google Discover and other ideas to try and get you out of your mindset. Actually, Google Discover is putting you more in your mindset, more in your bubble. So there's this dumbing down of the world's information, and I think that doesn't allow for innovation within the machines, and it stops us from seeing things from a different perspective, and ultimately when something's wrong, it's hard to correct. If there's this massive information that's reinforcing an incorrect assumption, then the machine will only start bringing in augmented stuff that supports the original fact. There's something that's taken as fact, and I think that's a dangerous place.
Well, we're digressing, but it's very interesting. And I don't know where you got in your education, in your life experience, the skill to learn how to think instead of what to think. But that's, in my education, that was a key part. And since kindergarten, I went into a school system called Montessori, when they teach you how to think, not what to think. The traditional system is more about what to think. And it's not people's fault. It's just they've been trained like that, educated like that. And it's very difficult to, you need to work on learning how to step back and look at the information and the how, the why, and so on. But because also you have those cognitive bias, if you want to look for something, if you want to look for aliens, you're going to find them.
Yeah, you are, absolutely. So for me, I think obviously university is where you start to go from, being told facts to being told approaches to find your own facts. And but also, my first SEO site was murder mystery games. I used to write and run murder mystery games for an evening.
Amazing.
For a living, and the structure of creating a murder mystery game and the structure of creating a game of getting to the top of the search engine is not so dissimilar. I used to think that, I used to try and pretend that SEO was like chess, but it's not like chess, because chess has all the rules in front of you. You know the rules and you know the variations. You just can't see the wood for the trees. It's not like that. It's more like a game of poker, because there's a lot of bluff going on, and it's also only relevant within the set of cards that you're dealt. So in other words, doing SEO in the aerospace industry may be very, very different to doing SEO within with the health industry or a corner shop or whatever it may be. So it's a little bit more like poker, because the cards are different every single time. And murder mystery games are a bit like that. Writing one of those, every character had part of the puzzle. So to try and work out the murder, you could do it in many ways. You could get to the top in many ways, but you couldn't do it on your own. You had to get information from all sorts of other bits and places. And it turned out that way of thinking wasn't a bad way to approach search engine
optimization. From a writer's perspective, do you go from the end, right? The solved mystery, and then you reverse it back to an initial setting, or how do you?
Well, yeah, I guess I do, because there is a factual. Yeah, so I start with the death, and I know who's done the death, and then I make sure that everybody has a route to find that information out by talking to other people. But and then I always tied it round to means, motive, and opportunity. So maybe in SEO it's speed, on site and off site. Whatever it may be.
It's exactly like SEO. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, and you've got to get them all right before you're going to have any chance of getting there. And you still might have 10 other people all getting there as well. So the question then is, well, do you get there quicker, or do you explain it better than the next person, or whatever it may be? I don't know. Maybe I'm talking a little bit bollocks here.
No, it's exactly. You got the target, right? You got that keyword. Then what I say, you got to smell the SERP, right? And if you figure out the intent, I have a specific example with a client who is into driving permit. Oh no, it's actually, well, he's got two businesses, but one is about driving permit, and I don't know in England, but in France you got points, right? So how to recover your points. But I was like, okay, you want to rank first on learn how to drive, but if I think about the intent and I look at the video, right?
Yeah.
Well, why haven't you done a video? Because I think the video format for that keyword and from the intent perspective is going to be as powerful, and it's going to be much quicker to do SEO on YouTube than, and you can do both. But so it's exactly like you said, okay, you got the goal, and then you got the environment and all the little players and everything. So it's exactly like your book. Very good. I like this analogy. I might steal it from you.
Fair enough. That's all right.
But I'm not writing the book, so I'll say. Rendons à César ce qui lui appartient. Let's give back to Caesar what belongs to him. But it's a very good. I like that example because I use the poker example a lot. We French SEOs play a lot of poker. Every Thursday we have a private poker tournament on a private server, and
I'm really bad at poker. I'm so bad. It's terrible. I mean, I quite enjoy it, but if I play with anybody that's older than the age of about 10, they thrash me.
No, the problem with poker, if you got to play a lot. If you don't play a lot, it's you lose the feeling, like SEO, but it comes back. Yeah. Okay, let's go back to our topical thing, because we were on the page level, right? And I think people understood, pretty much everybody understood that on the page, not about keywords, more about topics, subjects, or ideas, concepts, right? And you got to explore the topic. Yep. But around the page within the website, in my opinion, it's exactly the same thing. How the links are going from one page to another. There's a semantic proximity or a semantic slide. I don't know how to translate it.
Absolutely, and that diagram you've got there of those links. Hold it up again. I think that's absolutely the way in which
that's a blog. But e-commerce would be the same with like several layers. Don't worry about the colors, but more the size of the dots.
Yeah.
Because that's a page rank plus semantic rank. So we go from there to there. This is what Dixon and I do. This is what you have.
Yeah.
This is a typical blog structure, and you see that all the dots are very tiny. So whatever comes around the page, what surrounds the page is exactly the same concept that on the page.
And I think we kind of do it in slightly different ways within our different tools. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't want to, I don't want to presume your tool, but I think the way that your tool does it, you build the site from the ground up around that kind of idea.
No, we can modify an existing website too.
Okay. Whereas what we're trying to do is we don't do it in the navigation in any way, shape, or form. Ours is trying to understand the concepts in the topics within the text, so within the body, within the paragraphs. And then link those topics together. So you associate one page, the football page, with the concept of football. And then whenever you mention football in the rest of the website, it picks it up and it says, right, okay, we need to have an outbound link on that page to the football page. Now, this is kind of interesting because people always think about inbound links. But what you're doing then is you're also giving authority to the content that you've got. So you've got this outbound link that is citing what you're saying is the official source or the respected source for that piece of information. So you've got a page on sports, for example, and then the sports page will have a section on football that will link to the main football page, because that is backing up and giving a citation for whatever it is you're saying on this page over here. So I think people links have two values. Of course, inbound links are saying, if they're a good quality inbound link, they're saying this page is an authority on the subject with which the person thinks through to. But it also has some benefit for the outbound link if you start linking to respected and authoritative content that backs up your argument. Not necessarily from an SEO point of view, but from a reader's point of view. And I'm going to go SEO point of view as well. But I think the reader is going to have a lot more faith in your content if you can back up your statements with authoritative facts.
I'm going to go beyond. It's very good for SEO. It's not like huge signal. It's not as strong as like the title tag, right? But it is very, outbound links are important. And where people could go wrong, at least if you speak French and you Googled up cocon semantique, in English with semantic, I call my stuff like topical mesh because semantic cocoon doesn't translate well. And there's this system of linking how the pages interlink themselves. And where people got it wrong is that this is just the backbone structure. But what's most important is who is linking to what and why. This, because you could have the best structure in the world. If the pages don't match, it doesn't matter how well the structure is defined. And furthermore, I think the key here, the key difference between our tools is that users can tackle any website. It's just how do you say, SAS or SaaS?
Software as a service. Yeah. SaaS. Yeah.
SaaS. Yeah. So using in SaaS, and it's for everything. We could have done that, but I decided to start with WordPress. Right? I just fixed WordPress because WordPress, if you install WordPress by default, or even if you tweak it a little bit, it's gonna be bad. Just in my opinion, I use the pages and not the post because I don't want this date thing to rank the content. And I got this plugin who is going to help you from researching the topics to help you write the content. And well, you look at the video, but it's different from your tool in the way that I just take care of WordPress for now. And you take care of everything.
Yeah. So I can go in WordPress, but it's not, it can go. Yeah, it's just
and the difference because we're not the only ones to do this, but the French have been on it since 2013 when I did this famous public talk when I introduced that concept, and developers jump on the bandwagon. So now we got dozens of tools, and I'm not saying that the Brits or the Americans are not smart enough to do it, but we are way ahead of the game. We were the first to do this kind of crawling. Before that, it was in Java with that tool called Gephi or Gephi. If you wanted to map out the website.
Oh, yeah.
We were the first to do this. Now Screaming Frog does something similar and so on. But that was a breakthrough. But before... if you want to look at French SEO, FrenchTouchSEO.com, I got all the tools that of my friends and I. But it's not that complicated. And every single tool, yours, mine, and the others, are there to help you find the word to put on the page and the pages around the page. But not all of them are advanced in a way that some of them look at the past. I got a tool where you display 100 results on Google, right? And you copy the entire SERP. You copy everything and you throw it into the tool.
Yeah.
So it's going to tell, oh, that page is like 100% optimized. And it can even guess what is because you got a lot of little elements in the search engine result page. Yeah. A lot of very interesting, again, smell the SERP is the key. So this kind of tool look at the past and the present. What does Google have? Mm-hmm. And my tool and a couple more look at the future. What does Google want? Mm-hmm. Because, for example, the easy example, you are an e-commerce website. You want to sell, I always take camera, for example, but let's take a dishwasher, right? You want to sell a dishwasher. Yep. And you are number 12. The 11 in front of you are also selling dishwasher. The first 2,000 results are just signal. The signal behind the page is e-commerce. Yep. Is that what Google wants? Does he want like every single result to be the same? It doesn't matter if it's you or Amazon or whatever. They're all doing the same thing. And in my opinion, I think Google wants different type of results. If you look at the best example, if you look at the Six Nation tournaments, you're gonna have knowledge graph, you're gonna have the answers, you're gonna have social, news, video. That's what this big Christmas tree. That's what Google wants. At least we know the ultimate goal of Google, to have this Christmas tree of search engine result page. So if you give Google what it wants in the future instead of what it has at the current time, that's really, really advanced SEO.
So how do you work out what Google wants in the future?
Well, you use your tool or mine.
I think, yeah, I mean, so we have that. We do have this ability to. So we find all the topics and things that all the people are talking about, and then we throw in new topics that are semantically close that are not yet talked about, so you can expand on the topic and stuff.
Exactly.
I don't know whether
that's about the future. That's not about the past, right?
It's about making it better than anything that's there at the moment. Yeah, it's trying to do that. But it's I don't know how many of our customers or users are actually using the full power of the tool,
Well, from a very practical, to go back to my multimedia, right? My ranking videos and text and images and so on. If you look at the search engine result page, compared to a sport type of result page where there's everything, and that's where Google wants to go. So what is it missing? And sometimes it's easy to take the e-commerce example, but I have some example where it's already full of encyclopedia type evergreen content. So maybe that's not the signal I would advise to send. What is Google missing? I don't want to play down that skill, because maybe it's easier today because of the tools, because of this type of podcast, but I spend like over 10,000, 15,000 hours to understand that, and my friends who did that as well, we spent a lot of time staring at those results. Back then it was easier, because at 3 o'clock in the morning, our time, all the data centers were moving around and we're looking, and then it was for the next day. So it was a little bit easier to experiment back then. But you just got to practice. And the good thing is you just have to practice for your own website, for your own topics. I had to practice in general for any kind of, so it might be easier for you, but if you, it's like in photography, and you got to stop calling my Leica a Pentax.
Sorry.
It's like, what does it make a difference? The single thing that makes a difference between a good photographer and a bad or an average is not about the camera, it's not about anything. It's about how you can see what other people can't see. When I look at something, I see shapes, I see triangles, I see elements in relations to another. I don't see the Eiffel Tower. I see a triangle. Yeah. It's the same here. It's all in front of you. You just don't know how to look. You don't know how to look. If you learn how to look, it's not a talent. I was not born. I learned just by staring at the damn thing and trying to figure out why did he put that one number one. And sometimes it's not. I have a good example with electronic cigarettes, right? The first one, everybody's like, oh, I have better backlinks. I have good content as well. Yeah, but go into Google Trends, type in the name of the website, and you see that they did a lot of branding. It's like that, meaning that they worked on establishing a brand, and that's the single difference between them and the others. So it's not about looking at the backlinks in Majestic or analyzing the content. It was about the brand. So it also has to go beyond just basic SEO. Smell the SERP.
Okay, so we've been at this for well over an hour now, and I think maybe it's time to come back to your big secret and start talking about off-page and stuff. and round things up. Off page is clearly something that is harder for people to. A lot of people find it harder to do. Off page, and off page is I suppose getting links and stuff. Well, we didn't talk about some of the technical stuff either. Actually,
I don't think it's that important. That's the thing. I mean, the way you link the pages is
where you can listen to the Google guidelines.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's put it this way: if you don't have any bad thing that gonna prevent your website to be accessible by search engines, yeah, you need an audit. But I don't recommend investing too much in the technical part, because what happens is, if your content is, I'm not gonna say bad, but it's weak, right? It's thin content, not saying bad content, but just not that much, very close to the other content, or just thin content. Well, you can structure your site all you want. You can fix all the little SEO thing all you want. It's still going to be thin content.
Yeah, well, it's true. But I do think there's some value into making sure that your site is fast, that it can be seen quickly from wherever you are in the world, and that includes all the little bits of JavaScript that you're pulling in as you load
but that just gives you the right to play the game. The analogy I use is you're playing like a game of football in the bar, right?
Yeah.
You put that's the technical part is just you put the coin in the machine.
Yeah.
Then you got to play the game, and the game is with content and links.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
That's how I see the technical part.
Let's talk about links then.
You got all the usual, and you said like a really bad word called PBN.
Yes.
Public Blog Network.
Private blog.
Private blog network. The problem I have with that is blog, anyway. Because you gotta be a little smarter than, or at least less dumb than the other ones. I enter a website on Majestic, right? I don't even need to click on the links. Just by looking at the domain names, they are expired. If I click, they all look like some bad SEO wannabe type of blog with no value whatsoever. So my only recommendation, and what I do, is to build real websites, and no, I'm not saying about ambitious blogs. I hate blogs because you gotta be creative, and you can have an example of a website. Comment cuire un œuf? How to cook an egg.fr. Comment cuire un œuf. .fr to show people how I would do a website from a network, and if you look at it, it looks like a real website. It only has 4 or 5 pages. My advice is, if you build something that you are proud enough to show you to your mom, can you show that piece of content to your mom? Can you show that website to your mom? Then it's good enough.
Unless you're in the porn industry.
Yeah, the mom threshold. Like, is it good enough for my mom? And let's say you want to build one website a week. HTML, no WordPress, no nothing. You build good old HTML pages because from a security point of view, it's much safer. And that's where you keep on doing this topical thing, right? And around the website, you're going to build a networks of website, but not so many, but they are smart. They are continuity of the principle that we explain on the page, around the page, and around the website. But the only difference between what I do and what the others do is that the website that I built look like a real website, and some of them can really bring value. I call that the Trojan horse. So the Trojan horse strategy is you build the website designed to get links, even from your competition. Mm-hmm. Be useful. For example, every year, I'm sure in England, you got that e-commerce report by some kind of official organism, right?
Yep.
Let's say in your industry, you got that official report, the industry report that comes out every January of every year.
Yeah.
So what you do is you're going to build not a competitive report, a supplemental report, something that's going to add to that official report, right? And you're going to launch it the exact same day that the official report, and you're going to, the journalist, if it's a good journalist, he can't talk about one source. He needs at least 3, and nowadays more likely. So you're helpful, right? And you are not going against the official thing. You are going around. That website, it's not going to be hosted on your website. It's a different website. Yeah. Everybody's going to link to it. The press, competition, and guess what? That website is going to link back to you. I do it in you can do it in a sneaky way with hidden 301 redirect, blah blah, or you can just put a link wherever you want, and that way you build a website designed to get links. Because the problem, especially with e-commerce websites, they want links, but they're not giving any, and they're not designed to. We spoke about outbound links, and
and that approach allows you to also do more black hat stuff, because if you're getting black hat links, you don't get black hat links directly to your main website. You get your black hat links to an experimental one of those kind of sites that is linking through, so that if that site gets burnt, you can just take that link with that site down, and your any fallout on your own site is minimized as a result of that.
2 things. Once you start, okay, you got that what I call the Trojan horse, and you can go onto Black Hat World and buy automated links, but buy links towards the links. People are going to buy what's called blast, but they forget to buy a blast to blast the blast, right? That's very important. And second, if you get caught, all you got to do is say, oh, sorry, Google, I hired some SEO. I don't know shit. I just own the website, but I told him, and you removed everything. 1 click, everything is gone. Otherwise, if you put links here and there, we're going to do a podcast about the disavow file, right? Because in my opinion, if you remove the links or you just put the disavow file, is the difference between getting depenalized in days or in months. So you got to remove those links. So if you go around the web and remove all the links you bought, or all the blogs you spammed and the forums and stuff, good luck. If it's your own network, and I'm not saying you should have only your network, but it's again, if you don't want to buy links or build links, we spoke about that. You got to be so good at content. You got to be the best. You got to be a Dixon Jones at content. That
Which
people
is
are
my
going to link
approach.
to you.
I mean, I'm not saying that my content is particularly brilliant. I'm not, but I do think that trying to be the best at the content is my number one approach. Trying to be, whether it's me or whether it's a client or whether it's a product, I think that's the long-term game. The short-term game of creating a link network is problematic because it doesn't necessarily build your brand up. Unless there's real.
I'm not saying it does.
Yeah. So I think link building that doesn't help towards building the brand is a short-term gain. But I've been saying that for about 20 years, and it's still happening. So it's still working. So there's got to be a point
again,
which
I'm into both worlds, right? I'm into no bullshit SEO, and I leave it up to people to decide. I give both sides. And I'm the example, you are the example that great content does gather links. I never built one single link towards my blog, and you didn't as well. And we got tons of it. So it works. Of course it works. But I understand also, and I have clients who have both strategies, right? They have like a white horse type of website, and then I can give you several tricks to do what's called a short term on an event, right? You want to rank for the sales, you want to rank for the World Cup, you want to rank for something that's about like 3 month maximum period. Then you can have a short-term strategy. And also, what do you do when all the other ones are buying links? All the other ones are buying PBN. All the other ones. Some of those keywords, if unless you are, again, tremendously good at content, well, then it's gonna, especially if you want to rank the same, like we spoke before, right? You got the dishwasher page, and all the other ones have dishwashers, and they've been there way before you, and they are way more powerful than you. What do you do?
Yep.
So the problem with links, I don't think it's about cheating. It's about knowing what to do if you get caught. And in case of a private network, but again, you minimize the chance to get caught if you are not as bad as the other ones. You just need to be a little, use your head and maybe go a little slower. If you build one website a week, that's 50 websites at the end of the year. That's a slow pace. And 50 domains, if you get maybe 300 domains, but at least you have control over those 50. So even if I understand, even if I applied for myself the same strategy than you, I also, like I said again, I also know the other side, and some of my clients they want that. So I can't. I'm not here to judge. It's not illegal, and the Google guidelines, good for them, but it's not my my law.
No, I think the other thing that we underestimate is the difference between a good link and a link.
Yeah, very important.
A good link. I mean, I think everyone pretty much knows if you've got an article on Wikipedia or a link from Wikipedia, that's a pretty hot link. I don't care that it's no followed. It's baked into the algorithm pretty much. But forget Wikipedia for a second, although that's great. But if you've got a really good link, I think that's the same as a million average links. It's and we've got the maths to prove it, because we can sit there and see with citation flow that 99% of all pages on the internet would have a flow metric, trust flow of less than 1. And I don't know what the numbers are, but it's probably more than that. So 99 out of 100 pages are crap. Not only crap, they're down at the bottom 1% in the score. But much more of them, there's 99% of all the pages on the internet are that low in value. So the amount of juice that you get from a link in there is almost negligible, and it goes up very, very slowly at the start and very steeply at the top. So a page that's got trust flow of 50, and let's call that a page rank of 6 or 5 or whatever, if you're still in the old green 1 to 10 kind of things, a link from there, very, very powerful if it's in the right place on the page, and if there's not 2,000 other links on the page. So when the directories all got spammed out, then that was all about too many links on a page and directories not being adding value to the internet. But a little bit of content on a good page with one link sitting there in context from a contextually relevant site to yours shows a huge amount of trust in the respected web page has in your content, and that is worth a million other links.
Problem is that today, if the website is displaying ads, if it's press, you can buy. You got two options: great content that a journalist is going to pick up, or you buy the link.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about buying links and how Google was very smart to fight this. I don't know if you heard Google, but no spoiler. It's I didn't think they were going to be that smart, but no spoiler about how to buy links. It's for another episode. But honestly, I can't be like a Teletubbies SEO anymore, because my clients come to me for very, very high level keywords, with very ambitious, with a lot of ambition, and sometimes you got to do both, right? You can't just rely on the good old good content is gonna get links. And everybody else is buying the same links than you. You got to find some way to make it better. So to go back to our way to do it, to go back to this, if everybody else on the linking area is buying, is cheating, the difference might be here. Because we did a podcast. Links are links. Within the website, if you are smart in the way you do the linking inside, that might be the only advantage you need. And I've seen it with my clients on crazy keywords like plumber Paris, right? Like not dishwasher, but air conditioning or stuff. I mean, that's pretty crazy credit stuff. Like the biggest keywords you can think of. The only difference, because everybody else on the backlink side was doing all the same stuff, right? The only difference was there. The content was not that great. Everybody has the same kind of, 2,000 word content that you buy offshore. That's the way they link the pages that did everything. So maybe, go deeper into what we call the semantic search, topical SEO. I call it the topical mesh, but whatever it is, topical SEO entity.
Every time I try because I translate a lot of stuff in French into English using DeepL, and because Fred writes stuff in French and I have to translate it into English and stuff, and this mesh word keeps on coming up in translations. It's not a word that we use in English very much. Maybe because I was educated in the US, so I think mesh is more like American than British. I think. I don't know. Maybe I just haven't heard it very much in context to SEO.
No. Besides me, I don't think nobody ever used it. But my idea with the cocoon is that you have something alive, precious inside, and around you have this cocoon of links, of pages that protects whatever is precious and alive inside, and it's gonna help it become a butterfly. That was the idea behind the cocoon in French, but semantic cocoon, cocon sémantique, I don't think it doesn't work in English. And like I said, I like in another podcast, I like the word topical better than semantic.
So I use a slightly different analogy to the cocoon one. I still own the website marketingtowers.com. It's not a website, but it's a domain, and I want to write a book on it. And I want to see internet marketing in the form of a tower game. Those games that you have like Civilization and things where you've got towers and stuff, and it's a tower-based war game, strategy game. And I think that marketing towers would be quite good. So your palace is your website, and your where your commerce is done, or it could be your shop really. But anyway, but then you've got all these other, you've got your email marketing, you've got your videos and that stuff, and they're all towers, and you start buying content and buying buildings and stuff like that, and you're building this this battlefield to play the game really, and that's quite a good way.
I use the battlefield analogy a lot, because remember, this is a crawl of a website.
And each one of those sections is a
page. But before doing this, it was a mind map, and the mind map is a very real. You are general, and you got different type of. I'm not a specialist in military things, but I believe the tanks are supposed to do something, and the planes, right? And same with your content. And on the mind map, again, it looks like a mind mapping tool. And there's a number next to each node, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that number means something very specific about what is the page supposed to do. Is it supposed to rank? Is it supposed to push a page that's supposed to rank? Is it first level of commercial ambition, second, 3, 4?
Okay.
Because the biggest mistake is doing what everybody does is you publish like 300 pages, right? That strategy of the landing page, I guess, used to work. But it's basically flip a coin, and it works less and less. Sometimes it works.
Yeah.
Sometimes it works. But now, most of the time, it doesn't work as well anymore, because you gotta be smarter. Do less. Less is more in what we do. Less is more. And you got a treasure within your website.
Yep.
You got something that it's hidden, and if you just modify what you have, or you go from scratch, because sometimes, especially for e-commerce websites, they okay, you got to do content, so they open up a blog and they do some news. I don't do news. I don't do that. It's evergreen content that I want to build. I don't do blogging, and I don't do news. So they got good ideas, and sometimes they did a guide. They did like a question and answer Q&A section and so on, but it's just not organized well. Everything is at the same level, right? It's like a pearl necklace, and you put the pearl on top of another, which becomes this. Well, Dixon and I, we help you do this. That was a lot. You guys got to listen again to this podcast. We gave a lot of stuff.
I'm knackered now, though. I'm exhausted now. Have we told them what we can for today?
I'm starting to sweat. We spoke so much. No, the problem is we spoke about so many things that behind some of the phrases you said or I said, I can understand everything that's behind the sentence, right?
Yeah.
So we'll go more into details. And again, I'll put the links to our respective videos of tools and YouTube channels where you can get more info about the specifics and the screen share and so on. But why we call it advanced SEO is because you get it. You get that it's not about keywords anymore. But how do you apply it for real? How do you put it? How do you do it? And again, most of the people understood it's on the page. A lot less understood that it's also around the page, and it's also around the site. It's all this who is in relation to what and why is the only thing. If you understand everything that's behind this sentence, who is in relation to what and why, there's nothing else to say.
Yeah. Okay.
So we can end it there.
Thanks very much for watching, guys.